Welcome to the weekly chart review. I'm going to be diving into stocks on this one. All right. First and foremost, let's jump in on Nasdaq. There's been some serious developments. Okay, we'll switch that over to the daily. Okay, and then drop. All right, so overall, this right here, if you saw the chart from last week, that was the gap that I was waiting for it to close on. Okay, it did. It just closed that up on Thursday, and it rejected hard, and then Friday came right back up to that zone. Okay, so what I'm predicting right now to happen with Nasdaq is I believe it's going to peak around 30. Well, on my charts, right on the Oanda, it'll peak around 13,780, give or take, 50 points here or there. It'll be around this area. That's my prediction anyway. The reason why I say that is because I can't see it climbing another 800 points to close off this gap. Because if it does, then, I don't see why it couldn't go up another 800 points, close 4 more gaps, right? I can't see us hitting almost 16,000 in the Nasdaq again, especially when we're in a recession, right? Whether you change the terms or not, the rules still apply, right? We are technically in a recession, and it has to be kind of noted at that point, right? So long term, this is what I'm expecting. You could see all the gaps that are open right below it. So if we're drawing this down right now, to close off 4 gaps below the current price right now, it's 680 points. Okay, to go and close up a gap above there, 768 points. So, this is kind of telling me we're going to be going down. Okay. And if you've heard me say the ratio before, like I did a lot of back testing on this, on average, what do I say, right? On average, 70% of the time, this gap closes the next day. 84% of the time, the gap closes within the week, right? So that's the 70 plus an additional 14% for the orange lines, right? So green and orange. And then 98% of the gaps will close eventually, meaning that between 84 and 98, there's a 14% window that these blue lines will form. Okay, there's only a 2% chance that these gaps will never close. Okay, and as you see where we're at right here, this goes much further back. Okay, I've done testing back in, where was it? Way back here. Like these gaps have closed, right? But I just wrote 7. I don't want to have them keep going out, but you get the idea, right? So I've back tested, and this was back tested, except my power went out and I didn't save the chart. And I'm like, I'm not doing this again, right? So that's kind of how it was. It was a long effort. And I just didn't want to go over it again. But overall, it's been over, oh man, at the time, I think it was 862 days. And that was like a month and a half ago. 862 days. And as you can see, there was only like 18, 20 or so gaps at that time that didn't close, right? So I had to include these ones up here, but everything that you've seen moving upwards, like from the downshift, closes, but anything that was left down here and then it kind of bounced off and kept going didn't, right? So anyway, there's a 2% chance or less that the gaps won't close. There's a 98% chance that they will. So expect these to be closed off, and then these, and then finally here. Very hard pressed to say if it'll actually drop down to 9,000. Because if it does, what's stopping it from snagging all those? I don't think that we're going to go down that deep. Because if we do, damn, right? We're talking from the peak of Nasdaq to where that would possibly be. We're talking 58% drop in Nasdaq, and that's never happened. I think the most has been 38, right? So 38%. You can see where that is. Holy cow! It's around the 10,000 mark. Okay, so it's definitely possible. I mean, on the Oanda chart, as you see, the 10,000 mark could possibly be hit. IXIC, that would be around 9,700 and change. Okay, so I think we're going to be dipping just a tad below 10,000 in the next several months, right? By December, I would say that's probably where it'll be at its lowest, maybe November even, and then it'll be reversing and continuing on for several more years on a bull run. But what's in November, guys? Elections. So who gets voted into the House and Senate? That's going to determine policy. Policy determines how a few stocks move and how some companies react to that, some wealthy investors. So I would say keep your eyes peeled for what happens in the upcoming weeks after the election to see how big players move their money around, and that'll be a good indication as to what to look forward to. Okay, so that's that one. Now let's just jump into the stock. So as you can see, the Nasdaq drawing that I have right here, this is a little bit less messy, less lines, and it kind of goes to show why I'm expecting this to climb just a tad higher. Like, we're just in that zone, but right here it's the perfect 618 retracement. It goes through a Fibonacci channel line. Like, everything kind of consolidates around that area. Right, and I keep having to move it over because, damn, this run's been taking forever. Okay, but yeah, I'm expecting around 13,700-ish. So if we're talking IXIC, that's about 13,200 or 180, something like this. Let's take a look, actually, just so we have an idea, right? It'll be right... Where the hell did I put it? Where are you? What did I do with you? Oh, geez. Okay, there we go. So yeah, it's very likely that this is going to go up to about there, right? How many pips were we talking about before? Points, I mean. Well, let's go the other one, actually. Why am I measuring this one? Okay, so I predict that this will go up maybe another 200-ish points, maybe 190. So that would mean, let's say 200. Yeah, so we're looking around there, 13,200-ish, 230. Okay, that's where I believe that we're going to be heading off of. And if you take a look, right, I mean, they kind of match up. So if I draw a fib here to there, right, just under the 618, right, so that red line before is kind of like the green line here. So this is area for reversal. This is what I'm looking at right there. Okay, see if it happens, right? I'm being cautious right now. I'm not taking any more buys. I'm going to see if more on the leverage trades to take sells coming up. But as far as actually buying and holding, this is going to be a peak, not a great time to buy and hold. Okay? Buying and holding time will be better when it gets to that area, right? Right here, we see my big red line. Once it hits that low, in the low 5 digits or high 4 digits, that is going to be the time where I am buying a shitload of stocks. Okay, the reason why I think everything is going to be kind of tapered off now, as you can see, a lot of earnings reports just came in recently. Okay, so even Apple, right? Apple, I believe it's still going to climb another $2 or $3 before it starts dumping. And you can see there's a lot of gaps on the downside to fill. There's one right there. There's going to be one right here, right? So I don't think Apple is going to drop as hard as the rest of them, but it definitely will. AMC, what did I say here? Oh boy, right? I don't want to say I told you so, but once it kind of hit that area, this is the time to get out. It's not going to be any more moonshots, okay? Right? Look what happened with this one. It hit 50%, the giant wick, and then you had a huge wick form up and then just dropped, right? So we had our big wick, and then Still, this is climbing, right? But now we've closed off lower than the previous day. So it's sitting at $24 and change. Like I was saying before, I was expecting to 25 and 26. It went a little bit higher. As far as AMC goes, this is probably the time to get out. So as you can see, it's formed a double top right here, but now it's the second top is lower than the first. Right, historically, what's happened when we see double tops? Right, look right here. The next day dropped, and then look, double tops right there, double tops right there, and kept dropping. Right, so it peaked up here, and then a couple days later it came close, but it dropped lower. Right, what did we have here? Not really much of a double top, just a big wick, and then it dropped. But here we're getting another double top. Right, so stay in it. Don't stay in it, whatever, that's completely up to you. I want to help the meme children, because most people have no idea when they buy AMC what they're really doing. I mean, there's going to be some people that do, and they just want to have fun with it. Majority of people, they go off the hype, and yeah, they want to bum you out, guys, but this is, I mean, you've seen it happen 4 times, right? Like, well, how much more information do you need to kind of prove to you that this will happen again? The likelihood that it's going to hit 29, very low. All right, let's see stocks of interest. All right, so the last, this chunk right here, not BBPY, another meme stock, right? But I'll dive into that in a second. Oil doesn't need to be on this watch list. Okay, so these are my stocks of interest for the week. And the reason being is because 2 things, right? Number one, they have earnings coming up these weeks. And number 2, they actually have positive earnings. And not by a small margin, but pretty chunky. Target is the only one that is still going to beat or still going to earn per share. But compared to last year, last year went up $3.64 a share at this time. This year it's projected to go up like 71 cents. So that's what? A fifth of where it was projected to be at before. I mean, not terrible, but I don't see this kind of exploding to the upside. Okay, so Target is going to be one to watch. I believe that one is on Tuesday. Walmart is on Monday. All right, yeah, so Walmart 16th. Okay, so 16th. Yeah, that's Tuesday. Sorry, Target is Wednesday, so it's the day after. Okay, this is what always kind of struck me with Walmart. This big gap that was left when it tanked the last time when earnings were brought out. See, 1.62 estimate. Before, I mean, estimate was 1.48, and it reported less. So now it's projected to report more. I think the only reason is because even though high gas prices, it's summertime, and there's a lot of people that just do traveling. It may not be as lucrative as it was in the previous years, but traveling is still important to a lot of people. You know, they need to get out and get some sanity back before going back to work. Yeah, but I want to be optimistic, but I can't see this closing at $146 before we start dropping. That would mean that Walmart would have to have some sort of incredible move for it to climb 10%. I mean, it's not unreasonable, actually. 10%. Okay, well, 10% is decent. It's worth a shot, I suppose, but I could do better. Okay, so there's that. Target's earnings, look at this, a big-ass gap right here, right? And I'll just draw it from where it's been closing off. So we still have all of this, right? So if by chance, like, we haven't had incredible earnings from a lot of companies lately, but every single earning, everything's been pushed upwards, right? So what this is, it's a possibility for it to go up 21%. Not very likely. Okay. lottery at this point. I can't see it going up this high and closing off this giant gap. I have a feeling we'll reject maybe halfway up there around the $190 mark and go back down. But you know what? If you're already in it, may as well just ride it out and see what happens. Okay? There's a possibility that this will rise. Nasdaq, it's, like I said, possibility of it going up another 300 points. Depending on how people play earnings, that could mean that a few stocks get pumped to the moon and some stocks just kind of dawdle around. Okay, this could be pumped, it could not, right? But again, 20% to close off that gap. Is it really worth taking the risk for it to drop down? 20% is decent, right? It's up to you and your risk tolerance. DE, so this is going to be reported on Friday. They left a big gap up here, or not big, but around the 422 mark, so about $3. But man, has Deere and Company been climbing like crazy over the last few years. Look at this. This is just bananas, right? Like, they've been around for a long time, and they've been, let's say the housing market crash right here. How much did it drop from peak? 73%. That was pretty major. So it was trading on average between 30, 35, then it climbed up to 90, then it dropped down to the 20s, and then it's kind of been long gone. The lowest it's been in the last 8 years, I guess, is $71, and then COVID dropped it again to about 100, and then this thing was like a rocket ship. Holy crap. Look at this thing. As soon as the EMA shifted, that shift didn't even stop going until June of 2021. So, I mean, that's a climb of 350 days solid. Right, EMA shifted right there. 50, drew it down, right? But it's actually up. So it went up 147% before EMA shift. I would say it was up 135%. It peaked at 187% run. That's very good. Okay, and now as you can see, over the last few weeks, this thing's been climbing pretty steadily as well. If we just do a retracement right there, it's entering that golden zone, right? You see that happening with a lot of the stocks now, right? So this is why I'm saying caution is everything. Okay, look, golden zone, what I always say is between the 50 and the 786, so this area, okay, it's entering there. Let's look at some others. No, not that one. Amazon. Look where we're at. 618. It's rejecting off it several times. Activision. This one's been a little funky. But overall, let's see what's been going on. Right? If we grab from its absolute peak to the bottom right here, you can see it's sitting around the 50% mark. And the last retracement value that it had was from here to here, and it's sitting in the golden zone, right? BlackRock, it's been climbing pretty steadily, actually, like even after bad earnings, but they own everything, so it doesn't really matter. Might get a little bit more of a climb. I don't think so. Berk B, right? So as you can see, it's struggling to kind of break through that. But the Dow is a little bit different than the Nasdaq, so I'm going to leave those alone. Carnival Cruise Lines. Okay, so been tanking quite hard. I believe that there's going to be some significant pullback, but I can't see it dropping below $8, right? So as the rest of the stocks will drop, I have a feeling that if this is dropping every day, it's going to be a couple of cents. I can't see it dropping like $1 or $2. Not a bad time to snag it at $10.70. I mean, around that $8.30 mark. Where was it? Right around here. That would have been great. I think I got it at $8.70 prior, and I sold it for about $11 before it dropped again. Yeah, so it was around here, $8.70. It was like this day, and then I kept it for about a week and a bit, and I sold it for, I think it was near the top here at $11 a share. I'm like, oh, cashed out nicely. Thank you very much. And then, yeah, it sucked that it dropped again. But it is what it is, right? Once I cashed out, I'm like, you know what? The next day I bought a couple more and then it dropped more. So I averaged down and I cashed out again. So it did okay. But my entire concern with Carnival, I worked for them in the past, right? So I'm a little biased to it as well. Not in any crazy managerial role to know financials, just enough to know how the cruise industry works from the inside, right? So judging from their earnings way back here, the only reason why they would have spikes going up is people booking in the future, right? So if they book a year in advance or 9 months in advance, they get some bonuses and perks, and it works, especially for the whatever club members they're called, right? So that's kind of what's been happening. It peaked there and kept dropping off because there's still restrictions. But I believe we've bottomed out, as you can see, where previous lows were right as COVID hit, right? We're right there. I understand that people assume CCL financials are bad. That's the reason it kind of dropped after hitting $11, right? When they offered another billion shares or something like this. Honestly, man, this is going to be the time where I predict this is as low as it's going to go. The $8 mark is as low as it's going to go. I cannot see it dropping further down. This company will recover. They have over 100 ships that they own, right? Not a whole lot of companies own their ships. They lease them. I know Holland America specifically is one of their branches, and they own all their ships, right? So something to look forward to, that everything, all the profits that they use, they invest in the ships that they keep for over 20 years. And then they sell them still for a decent profit. So yeah, very good operation, I would say, overall, right? And quite loyal clientele. So that's just my personal preference. I like CCL. I've said that in the past. Costco had a very nice run. So as you can see from bottom to top, actually, this was quite different. It hit that golden zone, right? Look at that 618 bounce, and then up it went. Okay. Now, if we draw it from this peak to this low, okay, look where it's sitting right now. Okay. It's just that's how it's going to be. It's in a bit of a consolidation zone. Here's a good example, right? Look at this climb. Whoops. Look at this climb right here. Here's the low right there. So that's where I'm drawing it from. There's the high. Look where it retested in the golden zone and kind of tested it once again, and then up it goes. Okay, so it's showing that Costco does want to climb, but it will have rejections here and there. Okay. Chevron's looking pretty good. Once oil starts climbing, so will this. So, I mean, I'm not going to be really doing this. It's going to mimic oil in particular. Disney started climbing back up. I was expecting it to get to the 170, 180 mark. But that's going to be quite high for the gap to close. But like I was saying, I think before, so the 130-ish mark would be reasonable for it to get to. Yeah, anyway, that's closed off. That almost closed off, but not quite. So there's that. DocuSign. Judging by their financials, I'm kind of expecting this to drop just a touch more. I would stay away from it for now. There's a gap actually that's around the $48 mark. It is very, very possible that'll get there. Their financial statements aren't the greatest, and especially when it comes to that big pull down from Nasdaq, like I've explained here, right? I'll touch here and crush through all of those to close them off. Okay, so I mean, it'll take a lot of stocks with it. Earnings, it could be possible that it'll be all right, but as we saw, this one estimated and made a little bit more or less, sorry, and it could happen here too. So this, not quite yet, probably around the low 50s, be a good buy. Let's see what else. Frontier Lithium, these guys are kind of all over the place. Very nice climb yesterday, or Friday. Yeah, yesterday. Did well. Let's see. Nvidia, steadily climbing. What does it need to hit? Right here, the 229 mark, I don't think we're going to be getting that this time. You know, it kind of peaked once at 192, then dropped down to 168. I mean, that was pretty crap. And then back up now, 186. So, you know, following the rest of the crowd, I believe this is kind of where it's going to taper off around the 200 mark. Let's see, Progeny, this one was awesome. Snagged it right down here the day before earnings. I like this company, so I mean, I wrote that up, and that was a nice payout. 40% in one day, or was that? Right here, I grabbed it around that area, so yeah, I mean, after the first day, I'm like, that's pretty good, you know, get up to the 40% mark, I'm done. Could have wrote a little bit higher, but that's fine, you know, no sense in getting greedy. I wasn't expecting this to kind of go higher. Typically, when you have these giant push upwards, there is a bit of a retracement that happens afterwards, and then it will move in its appropriate direction. Right, so you can see here, it dropped real hard in its previous earnings, and then the next day it was dropping, and then it recovered, and then dropped harder, but then it recovered prior to its previous close, right? So that's kind of what I'm expecting, something like this to happen. You know, it'll go up, kind of peak, drop back down, and then up it goes again. Hopefully it doesn't get taken down with the rest of Nasdaq. Pyrogenesis has been improving. That's great. Earnings, not really going to be much of anything. It's still R&D company, right? So they're black boxes. But they are getting more contracts. Roblox, not interested. Said that a few times in the past already, but it does have a gap to fill. It is possible that we will get there, even though earnings were a dud. Okay. Earnings were a dud, but it's still climbing. So, guess it wasn't really affected that much. Roku snagged this bad boy around the $62 mark previously. As soon as earnings came in, I saw it drop like 20%. I'm like, yeah, it's not going to stay down. So I grabbed it and I wrote it up for about 40%. Right? Let's see, it was somewhere around there to about 35, 36%, something like that. Still a very good win. Okay, Spotify. Don't know too much about this company to criticize, but I'll have to take a look at that later on. Tesla, everybody's favorite. Okay, so I did a bit of a rundown on this earlier on last week, and I see two things, right? So if people are in calls in this is going to be probably the top of it, 970, what to look for. If you, for whatever reason, Tesla drops below 846, that is, and closes on the daily, that is the absolute final trigger before you lose way more money. So I would probably avoid doing that. But just remember, like I said, I don't think that Nasdaq will be crashing this coming week just because of all the big companies and their earnings reports that are coming in, right? So what's going to happen is it's all going to be dropped down afterwards, right? So you can see Tesla earnings back in April, went down, and then the next day it opened really high and then dropped down again, right? And then finally it just kind of moved to the gutter. All right. Where can I see Tesla dropping to? Let's see. I'll switch it to the weekly so it's a little bit more tighter to see. So judging by all that, the lowest I can possibly see Tesla going is maybe 514, low fives. This is the main reason why. These Fibonacci channel lines are going to be quite telling as to what's happening with this stock. Even on the weekly, you can see how many times that they've been in play, right? Bouncing off one another from top and bottom. If they closed on one, they dropped the next day, right? So look at this one, dropped, and then went right back up to where it was before, and then another slow drop to the yellow, and then right back up it went. So it hovered around this area right before climbing higher. Same sort of idea. We're getting a little bit of that happening now, but Tesla hasn't experienced a recession yet, and I believe that we may be seeing this go, yeah, to about 500-ish. Once that hits, I'm definitely buying some. Tesla climbs quickly. Okay. And yeah, I mean, there's several others that may be of interest, but like I said before, guys, if there's anything you want me to go over, just shoot it in the comments, and I will address it the week after. All right, so hopefully that this has been educational, helpful, however you want to phrase it. Thanks a lot for watching my videos, guys, and as always, I'll see you next week.